Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. And I've been trying to connect with my next guest for about 10 years. No, for a few months now. And I'm really glad to finally get James Harrah on the show. A couple of quick, and James is a very successful long-term first call LA session player. A couple of quick announcements. I want to thank Reggie Hamilton and Toshi Yanagi for making the connection between us. And also make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/subscribe, and you can subscribe to the show on audio and on the YouTube channel. Let's talk about James Harrah. He's an American guitar player and songwriter, began his career in the early 80s, actually as the guitar player for Rickie Lee Jones on her tour following the album The Magazine. Shortly after that, he signed on to Madonna's Virgin Tour and then the Who's That Girl Tour 2 years later. Did you have to I'm not a guy that looks for gossip, but I would imagine you got to sign all sorts of confidentiality agreements with a big, sort of person who's in the media like that, like Madonna.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't recall having to do that, but there's something vaguely familiar about that. I think I didn't even think about it because I don't know. It's just not something that I.
Yeah. Well, if you didn't have to do it, then the gloves are off. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, it was, yeah, right. Especially the first one was so early on in her, although she was already.
She was always, growing up in New York City,
yeah.
She was always
right.
ever present there, man,
Yeah.
James' first album, Words Fail Me, was released in 2009. He has another record that was just released recently called Light Years Away. Great record, man. The guy's got an angelic voice, man. It's always funny when I meet people, like we talked on the phone, and so my context for first contact with you is not as a musician. It was as another person. And so I'm talking on the phone, and I'm listening to the records. I'm like, holy shit, because the voice is, you have a great voice. Well, your voice is. Yeah, it's great, and it's just always like, wow. It's kind of like I use the analogy. You ever work with somebody and all of a sudden you see him one day in the supermarket, it's kind of like out of context. You're like,
right.
Oh, you shop here too? It's just like, it's just.
You have an actual life outside of your record?
Yeah, right. It's a different context. So James has been a part of the music scene for 4 decades, contributing his unique sound to a wide range of artists, including Jane Child, Herbie Hancock, Melissa Etheridge, Andre Crouch, Al Jarreau, Leonard Cohen, Jewel, Ziggy Marley, John Prine, Kenny Loggins, Wilson Phillips, the Yellow Jackets, Keb Mo, and Barry Manilow. There's some great artists there, man. He's a guy who dons many hats. He's also worked on numerous films, TV shows, commercials, and Broadway musicals. His work can be heard on films Dinner for Schmucks. That's such a guy. My sons watch that all the time. It's quite funny.
Is that right?
Yeah. The Guilt. Well, not now. They're older, but I remember it's like a real guy, like a guy movie, right?
14 and 15 or whatever.
Yeah. The Guilt Trip and TV shows Friends and Supernatural. Most recently, his writing and playing credits can be found on the new Huey Lewis and the News record. His mom, Allegra, was an opera singer who passed on her love and passion for music to her 8 children. Dude, when I read that, I'm like, listen to us pussies talking about 2 kids is rough, 3 kids is rough. Right. Oh my gosh, shame on us. I bow to your mom, man. They all learned to harmonize from very young ages and put it into practice in their father's church. Guitar came to him very naturally after that, and he had no shortage of people to accompany. James, thanks so much for your time, and I appreciate it. What the hell was that like growing up with 7 siblings?
It was, a mixed bag. I mean, I was picked on and spoiled, equally. I think, it was great. We were a very, very musical family, and a lot of my early exposure to music and actually singing was with my brothers and sisters. So yeah, that was kind of cool. I mean,
it is cool.
We had that family blend, and we harmonized and sang in church and all that stuff. So I think it definitely influenced my path.
That's not an unusual start for musicians too, oddly. And I mean, I've probably had 35, 40 people on the show. Well, I've probably had 60 people on the show that got their start playing in church, but I probably had half of them had family, they had family bands in church, and some of them were traveling around and everything.
So. Interesting. Yeah. Well, it's great early, safe experience. You're not really out in the world playing. You're in this sort of a safe environment, and at a very young age to be able to do that. It's kind of cool. It's kind of a great way to get going.
how did you first get started in the music business, and like, what was your first break?
I guess my first break was actually related to playing in church, because there was a guy that played guitar that was influential. My friend named Dale Cooper, who was playing in this band called Brush Arbor. It was a country band. This was like 1975, and I knew him from church, and he was playing with this band that actually had a name in the country. You know, they had a #1 country hit at the time, and they were playing some, you know, high profile gigs, country gigs at the time. And he left, and I was just graduating high school, and he recommended me, and I joined them. So I, you know, basically was, you know, in junior college for about 1 month, and then I got this gig, and it was like, okay, I'm out of here.
So you left school to go play music? Yeah,
which I never was, you know, I wasn't feeling very serious about getting, you know, furthering my education.
Sure.
In college, because I already knew that I wanted to play, and so this came up, and you know, immediately the fall after graduate, hit the road with them, and we were doing like Vegas, and you know, we did the Grand Ole Opry, you know, played in the original room, you know, the Grand Ole Opry Hall. And they did some stuff with Johnny Cash. It was, you know, they actually were, you know, were out there doing some major country gigs at the time. So it was cool. It was good. You know, I was making a living and playing music. So I did that for a couple of years, and then I quit because I knew I didn't want to be a full-time band. I knew I wanted to be, you know, get into studio stuff. So I knew I had to sort of bite the bullet, and, you know, in that, to be able to sort of start playing around town and establishing a name for myself, you know, in LA.
How did you know you wanted to do studio stuff? Like, had you grown up with you must have had awareness of that industry as a kid growing up then?
Well, it was interesting. My dad was a minister, kind of turned missionary. And when I was 9, we moved to Germany for 3 years. And, when I was over there, actually, my brother it's an odd story. My brother got drafted, you know, it was 1967. He got drafted and was supposed to be sent to Vietnam, and his orders got changed at the last minute. He got sent to Germany while we were living there, coincidentally. So he was sent to, like, you know, 45 minutes away from where we were living.
Wow, what a break.
And heard about this 7th Army chorus that existed in Heidelberg, with the city that we were living in. And he auditioned for that and was accepted into it. And he ended up living at home with us during his stay in the Army.
How crazy is that? What is the like? Great. I mean, of all the places in the world, you're going to get stationed there, same place your family is.
Instead of Vietnam, he ended up living, you know, back with his family in Heidelberg, Germany. But anyway,
wow, that's a blessing, man.
Yeah, seriously. I say that to sort of, like, his records that he owned, you know, like, especially two. One was Simon and Garfunkel.
Bridge Over Troubled Water?
Yes, exactly. The one, Bridge Over Troubled Water.
See, that was the first record I ever bought.
Is that right?
Yeah, what a great record.
Yeah, well, and it was that one, and there was a Stan Kenton record that he had. And they both were studio musician based records, you know.
Yes.
Course, back then the record has on the back all the players listed and the studios, you know, where they were recorded. And so I was very, you know, I was very fascinated by that. So that, I think that put the idea in my head. And then we just moved, my parents moved to, we came to visit my older sister in Los Angeles when we left Germany in 1969, and never left. So,
wow.
So they actually planted me, you know, here in you know, Studioville.
That's great. So, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting. So I had that in my head, and then we're in LA, and it just kind of unfolded from there.
It's almost like
very lucky.
Yeah, you know, I always want, like, you know, I'm assuming you're a spiritual guy if you grew up in the church, right? Or maybe not. Maybe one of these guys that like never again.
Well, yeah, I'm for a lot. I've been that guy for a lot of my life, and I've sort of, that's a whole other topic. But I
Well,
mean,
but religion and spirituality are different. You can be like have a deep
yeah,
faith in
I've
the
gotten away from religion
right.
and gradually found my own sort of more spiritual path. And
Yeah,
I am a very spiritual person at the end of the day.
and you wonder I wonder anyway, the
Yeah,
serendipity, because I hear these stories, 5 times a week, and
right.
the serendipity of that, like it has made me. This show has made me more have more of a faith because I see all these things, and then I've gone back and look at things in my own life, and it's pretty amazing. And like, what is the chances? Okay, your brother goes to Germany, then you get turned on. You have all this musical background. Oh, I want to be a studio musician. Oh, let's move to LA. I mean, it's like there's a million
Yeah,
coincidences there. So you kind of got to wonder.
coincidences. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. You
yeah.
have to, I wonder, it's a good cause to like, you know, if you want to if you want to have a belief in a higher power, man, it's a pretty good reason to do it, when you
Yeah, I
hear all
mean,
these
my
things.
career is full of things like that are. I mean, my whole Madonna connections were really fascinating that way. I mean, and I look back now, and I don't know why I was meant to be in both of those tours, because they both happened in really strange ways.
How did talk about that? I want to hear that. That's interesting.
Um, I was with the Rickie Lee Jones tour down in Australia, and answering machines back then. I
Sure.
checked my machine while I was in. Uh-oh, I'm getting a signal. Are you
It faded out. We're back. Yeah, everything's cool
okay?
now.
I checked my in a very expensive way. I checked my my machine from Australia, and there was a call saying Madonna's auditioning. The keyboard player that I know had recommended me to audition for. Bill Myers had recommended me to audition for the Madonna tour. They were looking for a second guitar player, and I was like, damn, because it was like tomorrow or something like that, and I was a week and a half away from getting home, and so I thought, shit, I guess I missed that one. So that passes, and then I get home, and about 2 weeks later, I mean, I've literally been home for, I don't know, 4 or 5 days, and I get another call that the other guitar player didn't work out, and now there's an audition for a guitar player again, and so I go down and get the gig, and
Did you have to fly to New York, or she was out in LA?
it was in LA.
Wow. How crazy is that, man?
Tour 2 years later, I hadn't really been in touch with anybody between tours, and so I heard when that they were auditioning players for the next tour, and I thought, what a bummer, I haven't heard from anybody, and they haven't contacted me to come down and play. So I was bummed to hear that, and then then I'm doing a rehearsal at this place called Leeds. It's not there anymore. It's in North Hollywood, that old rehearsal place that we also used to rehearse at. And I had rehearsal with this girl named Vonda Shepard.
Why do I know that name? Is she the one who writes that TV shows?
She became more famous with Alan McBeal.
Yeah, she's a TV writer, isn't she?
Well, she was on that show. I mean, I don't know what I haven't talked to her in a long time, but I don't know if maybe she did more after that. But
I think she wrote, man, what was that show? My wife, I hated it, man. It was one of those things like, I love you, honey, so I'll watch it. The doctor show.
Sorry, that was narrowed down.
Yeah, I know that. It's only like $1,000. Anyway, it was on forever and ever, and I couldn't wait till it went off the air. And
She did the music.
Yeah, I think so. I thought she wrote. I thought she wrote the series. Maybe not. Maybe I'm confusing her with somebody else.
I don't know. Anyway, I had a rehearsal with her at this place called Leeds, and so I show up to the rehearsal, and we're rehearsing, and we take a break, and I go out in the hallway, and I see Pat Leonard and Jonathan Moffat, the keyboard player and the drummer from the Madonna tour. And they're like, "Hey, James, we're auditioning guitar players today. Want to come in and play?" And I was like, "Okay, I'm rehearsing, but yeah, I'll come in after the rehearsal and play." And anyway, I get the gig again.
That's so. Why didn't they call you? Just that's kind of weird. Is it was just like
I don't know. I have no idea, but just the right place, the right time thing.
Yeah.
Once again, but I look back and I can't see any reason why I was supposed to be there or why it was the right thing for me. But it's very odd that they both sort of, there was this synchronicity.
Yeah.
And it almost felt like it was meant to be or something.
How were those tours? What were they like? Because Rickie Lee Jones is a big tour, but this probably was even bigger than I'm sure.
Well, Rickie Lee Jones was really fun. I loved her first couple of records, and so I was a big fan. I was like, wow, this is really cool. And it was a great band and really fun music to play. And she was really hard to be around and really demanding and really kind of almost violent in a way, because she could just go off on everybody and just
really,
the tension was so thick with her, which led to actually oddly, kind of great. I think all that tension sometimes in music can feed into it in a good way that gets your attention and is very I don't know. There's something. I think there's something to that, because it was a great band, and I mean it was a great band of players anyway. But she really brought it together, and it was.
I guess it would depend on the personalities. If you're the kind of person that you can handle that, and you're like, if you have a mellow demeanor, yeah. If you don't, I could see it.
Yeah, I mean, she never picked on me, but she had this one person that she mostly picked on. But just that was going on around you was just really.
That is weird. It's really dysfunctional, especially with music. Is such a spirited, communal, positive vibe sharing thing. That's really weird.
Yeah, so you never knew what was going to come from her.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it was still it was a great experience.
Sure.
And the Madonna thing was just like I of course knew her music and like we just talked about, she was already by 85. She'd already had, I don't know, 4 or 5 hits at least.
Yeah, at least.
And was a household name already, and all over MTV. But yeah, that one was especially fun because it was a little bit more not so flashy, Vegas-y kind of big production. It was just the band and.
Oh, really? I would have.
She had two dancers that she had up there, so it was just the band and the 2 dancers. I mean, there was production, but it wasn't like her later tours that were just like over the top big, So there were just it was like 6 in the band and the 2 dancers, so there was just like 9 of us in the. So that was really fun.
Was she active in the direction of the music, or was there a music director who just handled all that stuff?
She was actually kind of intimidated by musicians because she was not a musician first. So she gave that responsibility to Pat Leonard, the musical director, and he was basically in charge of the band, and she was all over the dancers. It was like that was her.
Yeah.
She's more comfortable in that realm and more demanding with the dancers and all their choreography than she was about the music. I think she found that a little daunting. So she kind of let Pat pretty much handle that.
That says a lot about her, that, because, sometimes, look, to be that big of a celebrity and say, hey man, I know what I'm good at, let me focus on that, as opposed to just, some people are total control freaks.
Right.
That actually speaks.
Especially since she is a major contributor to her music too. She doesn't, I mean, some of her hits have been not penned by her, but she's also co-written, some of the, I mean, she co-wrote, I think Live to Tell and, what's the other one? Maybe it was only that. I think Open Your Heart was not her. And anyway, I can't remember, but she's a collaborator in the music. She's not like just a dancer that sort of sings,
Yeah.
She definitely has her input. She's pretty brilliant.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. To turn that over and say, "Hey, you're the music director. I trust you. Do your thing." That says a lot about like her.
Yeah.
Not being a control freak or something like that.
Right. Right.
Talk about, man, you did something with Bruce Willis. What was what was that? What did you
Well, that was pretty quick. It was just like a 3-hour session. It was like one song I think I played on for a record that he did.
Okay.
This is probably, I don't remember if it was before his film career, but it was like right at that time. I think it was 87 or 86, probably 86. So he was a household name already, I think, from that. What was the show that he?
Yeah, with the detective show, Maude, and I know what you're talking about, man.
Moonlighting.
Moonlighting, yeah.
Right?
I'm not much for TV, to be honest with you, so anyway. I'm weak on that.
So yeah, it was all right. He was funny. He was very, very hands-on with how he wanted it to sound, and he's sort of in your face with his ideas.
That's funny.
It's a distant memory. I mean, it was, like I said, it was like a 3-hour session just doing that one song. And
okay, so you didn't go on a tour with him or anything? No.
It was just like a sort of one-off.
I spoke to somebody that did a tour with Steven Seagal.
Oh, right.
My God,
well, there's so many actor, singer, Kevin Bacon, and
yeah. Well, Kevin Bacon seems to be like a legit musician.
Yeah. Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a bunch of them.
And then you worked. Oh yeah, but he just had some amazing, like, bizarro kind of stories from that.
Being on the road with him.
What's that? Yeah, on the road with him. He said it was like really nuts. I mean, like he said, the guy's on stage, and the next day he's teaching a firearms. They're in Japan, so now he's teaching a firearms court, and it's like completely different completely different personality. And then he said the next day he's running a dojo out, and it was really funny. He said it was just like, yeah, it was almost like he had multiple personalities, just completely different, none of them related. Wow. Yeah. What did you do, Dog the Bounty Hunter? Was that the soundtrack?
That actually was just I have done a lot of sort of library music for this. Well, at the time they were called Music Box, but then my friend who was part owner of that, named Danny Stein, created another company, and I would just basically send them.
So sync license tracks.
Yeah, sync license stuff.
Great.
So I have a lot of those in that show in particular. Rest in peace. Right, he just I think died. Right?
Did he?
I think so. Yeah.
I thought his wife passed. He passed too. Man, I am so like far removed from television. I'm sorry, man. I don't know. I never watched TV.
Well, that's good. That's good. But yeah, so I didn't literally have anything to do with the show or directly with the show. It was just like my cues got used in there.
What a great.
But yeah, it's been really nice. I mean, those kind of things, the mailbox money is.
Yeah. Yeah, that show's been syndicated for like the last 15 years or something like that. Wow, Good for you, man.
Yeah, no, it's been really a nice little side.
Yeah. Herbie Hancock, what'd you do with Herbie? Talk about a great talent.
You know what? That was one of my. It's funny, you often with heroes, you kind of like I'm a huge Joni Mitchell fan, but I kind of never wanted to meet her or work with her because I knew that it would be a letdown because I just have her up on this sort of I hold her in this really high regard, and I don't want it to be.
Yeah. Be careful meeting your heroes. Yeah, sometimes.
And Herbie's definitely a big hero, and it was probably one of the most fun sessions I've ever done. Because a lot of times you'll go into a session and it's okay, and you play your part, but you don't really feel like you're leaving your mark on it. It doesn't call for much guitar, or there's for whatever reason the mix of personalities, or I don't know. There's a lot of elements that go in.
Yeah, the chemistry.
The chemistry of
I totally get it.
Is run, or the combination of players, or and I'm an introvert, So I don't necessarily, always interact well if I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, all to say, I don't know, this session just went down. It was really creative, and it was really, it went in a direction that I helped sort of shape through trying stuff. And Herbie was there, and because that's the other thing, when you play on a record of can be anybody, that doesn't mean that you were there with them or
Sure.
playing with them or performing with them. And he was there, and it all went down at the same time. There were no.
Oh, so it wasn't like everybody was in the room.
Yeah, and it was just one of the small in the A room at Village Recorders in Santa Monica, which is it's pretty small. And John Robinson was playing drums, and they had him in this tiny sort of drum booth. And Greg Phillinganes was playing keys.
God, what a cast!
And Reggie McBride was playing bass. And Johnny Lang was also singing and playing electric, and I was playing acoustic slide. And Herbie was just in the booth, sort of chill, like checking it out. He's like, and I think he was planning on just having us play, and then he'd overdub me. He's like, no, can we set up the piano? I want to play along with you guys.
That's awesome.
So he ended up joining us, and so it was a blast. It was really and he was really cool. What a cool dude.
Was this like a record of his, an album of his?
It was called, God, I always forget the title. It's like one word, like Reflections, or God, what was it called? I can't think of it right now. It was like 05 or, yeah, I think it actually was 05, 2005. It was all collaborations with different, mostly like younger artists. I think Joss Stone she was the only overdub. That was it. She sang later her lead vocal with Johnny Lang, but everybody else was there on the day.
And have you worked with any other heroes of yours that like either way it was like really like another cool situation like Herbie, or it was like a nightmare situation?
Nightmare. My nightmare sessions are more, reading based or not being a very good reader.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an okay reader, but sometimes people throw something before you. They're like, oh shit, I wish I'd known that this was going to be a heavy reading it, because I'm more of a, I don't know, I'm more of a creative kind of icing guy. Like I do best, I don't know, putting my thing on. I can't put it into words.
I think most session players are like that. They come in and they do your part. There's a certain few guys in Nashville, the same thing, that like the reading team, bring those guys in. But by and large, I find most session players like to come in there, and that's why they like being session players. They like the creative aspect of it. It's incredibly difficult skill set where you say, hey, this is a salsa, go, or hey, this is a hard bop tune, go. I mean, that's a lot of, you need a lot of skills to do that, a big well of creativity to come up with that. So, but most guys are like that. Most session players are not readers. Great session players.
I think that's true. Yeah, I think that's true. The joke, how do you get a guitar player to turn down? Put a chart in front of him.
I never heard that one. That's a good one, though. How about Leonard Cohen? What was that like?
Well, that's one of those. I didn't get to meet him. He wasn't. Okay. It was Pat Leonard, that the producer that did Madonna. But it's always great working with Pat. He's he loves what I do, and speaking of being creative, and he appreciates that and respects that, and has always brought me in for that, to sort of put my take on it.
Yeah.
So that's always great and fun. That's again, what I love about the whole process in studio work. So, but yeah, I didn't get to meet Leonard Cohen, but that was his last record.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
Any
I wish
other?
it.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool, I would imagine.
Yeah.
You'd think.
Yeah. I
That,
mean, same
yeah.
thing like Ray Charles. I played on one of his records, but I didn't get to meet him or play with him, or, you know, there's a bunch of those, you know, where it just feels like it could be, I'm just playing on a track with the producer there, and, you know, I'm just overdubbing, no other musicians there, just, you know, so you kind of don't feel like, you know, my name's there on the Ray Charles record, but
Yeah.
the experience, you know, it wasn't like the Herbie Hancock thing where, you know, it was very interactive, and, you know, it's a very different process.
It's funny you mentioned that Simon and Garfunkel record. I regret there was a session player in New York City who played the opening of The Boxer, you know, that beautiful acoustic run.
Mm.
And he's passed. He's gone. And I would have loved to have that guy. That's just such a beautiful, you know, one of the iconic sort of things. But I remember it was from that album. I don't know why I thought of that. Sorry.
A player that did his own take on that song.
No, the session player who played on that
Played
record.
on the date. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he died, man. He's not around. I forgot his name, but he was a pretty successful guy in New York. But just to come up, you know, I guess what made me think of that is when you're talking about, you know, doing the creative thing. You know, when some of these riffs, you walk in there and it's like, here's a chart, and it's like to come up with something that 50 years later is still really in the, you know, and when you listen to it, it's like everybody knows what that song is right away. That's pretty amazing, and what you guys do.
Well, and it's you know, you're saying that you're reminding me of the story of I think it was Anthony Jackson who played
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
who, you know, because of shit like that, you know, I think stopped doing sessions because he felt like, for good reason, you know, that riff makes the song, you know, it kind of is the song.
It is the song.
You know, you get paid for, and I don't know the details of what he experienced with a session, but I assume he just got paid as
session rate.
A session, you know, and that was it. So no, you know, no residual, no.
Right.
So, you know, there are those times where you feel like, wow, I kind of, you know, turned that into something that it wasn't, and brought it up to this whole new level.
He stopped recording music. He got out of the business.
Anthony Jackson.
Is that what you're saying? He got out of the business, or he just?
No, he didn't get out of the business. But and I'm sort of I don't really know the full story, so I shouldn't speak much of it. But but I remember hearing that, you know,
interesting.
It changed his. You know, I don't think he stopped working, but
you know, do you know who Reggie Young is?
Yeah. It's funny because Reggie Young played. It was one of those experiences with that group Brush Arbor that I
the country,
early in the interview. We did a record in Nashville, and it was one of those, you know, producer brings in the Nashville Cats, you know, and we're like sitting there, really, I don't get to, you know, I think I got to play in one song or something, but Reggie Young was the guy that they brought in, so I got to watch him play.
Well, I mean, he
just passed too.
He passed. Man, I had him on my show. He passed about 6 months later.
Wow.
Lovely guy. I mean, just a wonderful guy. And but you talk about a guy he created so many riffs, and I think that's just, man, if you don't, that's your job. You know, it's not like you don't know it up front going in there.
Right.
You know, and I think everybody that's a session player has probably felt that way at one point in time, but that's the gig, man, you know?
There's going to be, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, right.
You know, I mean, I mean, I don't know how that came about, if that's, you know, it was the guitar player's line or, you know, but there's just certain ones that are so iconic.
Right. Definitely.
On these songs that are just timeless and, you know, massive.
I mean, I get it, how you might feel, but man, that you knew that gig going in there. Wouldn't you rather have that than? I mean, I gotta believe if you do something like that, you're booked for a long time because of that. You know, so it's not like,
right?
You know, it's not like it was. It's quote
We got to
waste.
get the guy that played that riff. Yeah.
Right.
That happened 3 years. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But I get it, man. How did you first get into, it's funny because I, as an outsider, more of a business guy looking at the music business, I couldn't see not doing or not wanting to have a career doing licensing for the reason you said, mailbox money. Because nobody else is buying records, as everybody is painfully aware of. But how did you you've done some great movie scores and TV. How did you get into that niche of doing that? And are you still active in it, or like, do you build up your library, or?
I haven't been, there's sort of two, the one you talk about, like as a session player doing music for
licensing,
playing on scores. Oh, licensing.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about licensing to your tracks to like Dog the Bounty Hunter. How'd you get involved with that? And is that something
that was just, luck. Again, my friend Dan Stein, who I said, contacted me, who I've done sessions with, and he was with this company that was, doing that. They had all the contacts, and they needed people to they had done some of the music themselves, and they were sort of branching it out to other players to come up with, they would give me a style, like, can you do when I first started working with them, can you do a sort of modern rock, CD, come up with a whole CD of this is how long ago it was, of sort of modern rock sounding cues. Right. And so I did that, and then I did, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 of those different styles, and they would get them placed into. So it was great. I mean, they were doing all the sort of footwork to get them into all the shows. So I just really kind of stumbled into it, and it's been a great addition to my income over the last probably 20 years. I've been close to it, doing it with that stuff. So,
do you know? He just moved out of LA. Do you happen to know Doug Bossy?
Yeah, I know Doug.
Yeah,
great guy.
Great guy. Yeah,
in Nashville. Yeah, you're good friends with him these days.
Yeah, right. And because he's got a company, his company.
Right. He's done really well with that.
Yeah, really well. He's a smart business guy in general, Doug is.
Yeah. No, he does great stuff. And
that's right. I sent you I saw that picture of you. That's right. Sorry, man. I have so many. I'm sorry about it. Yeah, man. I'm having a senior moment here. That's right. I saw that picture of you guys together. Let's talk about your new record, Light Years Away. Really pretty songs, great writing, great production. Funny thing is, your voice, you sound Southern.
Do I?
Do you think so?
Like Southern California? I'm kidding.
No. No, like Southern twang. Like you sound like I thought you, like, I said, man, because we spoke on the phone, and I was like, that was really weird. The guy didn't sound like he's from Alabama.
Yeah.
But your voice, it sounds like Southern. Yeah, it was interesting. Like laid back Southern rock, sort of, not Southern rock like the Eagles, but like Southern rock, like, those bands from back, the Outlaws or something like that. Just, it sounds like you're a Southern guy, which I thought was is your vocals the same on your first record? I didn't listen to your first record. Are your vocals similar?
The first record is mostly instrumental. I mean, I do sort of singing, like not lyrics, which is part of the joke. Words fail me, but I mean, so yeah, it's not really a singing record. It's mostly instrumental.
Right.
But I don't know what the Southern thing is. I mean, I definitely grew up on I think my probably singing influences and singer songwriters from the 70s, like James Taylor and Jackson Brown, and who are and Joni, who are not Southern. I mean, I don't
Southern
know.
California. They had the California. Yeah. Right.
But I'm not sure where I ended up with. Maybe it's my brush arbor roots showing.
No, I was shocked. I was like, wow, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some. Plus, you got some banjo going on there.
Yeah.
It's a laid back vibe. It's a really
Right.
cool album.
That's true. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the my favorite tracks. Make Everything Okay. I love the song, and for an introspective guy, there was some pretty deep lyrics in there. Sing your little song, act like nothing's wrong. What was that about? Like, what's the backstory to that?
Yeah. Well, it's I guess it's sort of like writing about how my early life has I've been battling with throughout my life, really basically. I mean, growing up in a family that big, very religious, the kind of unspoken request from my parents was look good, make us look good, act, you know, don't show your feelings.
Wow.
you
Yeah.
know,
So like very stoic.
kind of stoic. Yeah. So I think that by saying, sing your little song, literally, we were singing and, in church and making everything look good and
Yeah.
everything's great. So, in my life, I think that trying to make a statement and and put myself out there as this is James Harrah, has been tricky for me to be, not be a people pleaser or
Yeah.
try to say what other people, I think what they want to hear, or, that kind of stuff. So
Sure. Sure.
there's been a default to, uh, not feeling that what I feel is important for anybody to hear, sing a little song,
Interesting.
act
Yeah.
like nothing's wrong. Um,
God,
so
all these big religious families, that's like funding thousands of therapists, college kids' educations all over the country. I'm serious, man.
well, I think, but it's the combination of the heavy religious stuff and the big family. Cause I think, again, having kids, forget the religion, even just like if
Yeah.
you if you have 8 kids, giving them each the attention that they need and letting them be who they are and express themselves, that's really a lot of work to
Incredible.
let them be free to express their full, that's a tough assignment. So, so add the religion and the image and all that stuff to that many kids. And I get it, being older now and having kids and just, just being older and a little wiser, hopefully.
No, but there's fallout as a kid to have to be on the
Yeah.
receiving end of that shit, as we all have fallout from our childhoods, and that's, I
Yeah. And
could
if you're the
definitely.
8th kid, as I was,
Oh,
everything is already,
you the youngest.
I'm the youngest,
Oh
so
man.
everything's already up and running and you're just sort of like, oh, okay, I'm going to try to just sort of, I'll be right here, you
Wow.
know, fit in here however I can. Uh, so,
So let me
anyway.
ask you this. How have you've managed to have a really successful career, yet you're introverted. And I get the sense that you're not the guy that's, been knocking on doors, or maybe you did, but you felt really awkward about. How did you manage to be so successful? Because usually, to some extent in any profession, it's like the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Right.
How did you manage to become the squeaky wheel at times when you needed to be and like get out of your comfort zone, or like how did you work that?
Well, that's kind of what's funny about to me. And I think what we were talking about early on is the synchronicity and because I'm not the guy, I'm not the squeaky wheel. Hey, I'm great. Call me, hire me guy at all.
Right.
My MO is just to play as great as I could at all times and be, show up and do all those things. But I certainly was never yeah, um, not that you need to be cutthroat, but I mean, I was never anywhere close to that kind of
Right. You're not the guy
person.
hustling for jobs. I don't, yeah, I'm sure like you get the call, you're working your ass off, the parts, you're over preparing, but you're not going to be the guy probably knocking on doors.
Right.
How did you, yeah. So things just sort of fell into place for most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, they did.
Wow.
I would, like I said, that, I would do these yeah, I would just play well, and people would recommend me. They would think of me for and spread the word, and literally, it's all that. I mean,
That's great.
I look back and it's like, wow, what a trip, you know. Yeah, yeah, because I mean, and you know, again, it does feel like, you know, when I was a kid and practicing in my room, holed up in my room, and I don't know, there's something, you know, we were talking about God or higher power, all that kind of stuff. I mean,
Sure.
I would, you know, you're young and innocent too, and it's easy to just sort of like, at least for me, you know, to sort of fantasize. You know, I think the combination of practicing and loving playing, and I play along with records, and just love doing it, and I would fantasize as I was playing of being on stage with people, and kind of the whole thing,
Sure.
and I really feel like it was as simple as that. I think that it just, you know, when you believe something is, and did have a lot of confidence, because you know, from early on, I saw that people responded to my playing and were like, wow, you know, you're
Right.
really good. And so I got a lot of support in guitar playing. So it wasn't hard to go, okay, you know, I've got this, I'm good at this. I did have that, I think, confidence early on. And the naivete to just sort of like, yeah, of course, know, I'm seeing these things, and I was seeing it happen, you know, in my head, and I think it just did, you know, as sort of weirdly cosmic as that kind of sounds, or
No,
new
I
agey.
don't. I think that's great. I think that helps you. I think when you can visualize things and you believe deeply in them, it definitely puts you. It has to, because think about it. If you're visualizing, even if it wasn't active, or let me go visualize. You know, you had these
No,
feelings,
there was nothing. Oh, here's a formula. Here's how you do it. You know, there was no. It was
right?
all very, very innocent and just like,
Yeah,
you know.
but that has to propel you forward more than the player who's not doing that. Has to.
I think so. I mean, I have no other explanation for
Yeah.
having things happen the way they did, and you know.
You know that old expression, like I think Napoleon Hill or something said it: if you think you
Mm,
can, you can, and if you think you can't, you can't.
right, right.
And I think that goes towards that, man, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
I think that
yeah.
goes a long way to that, man.
Think and
Are
grow
you
rich.
self-taught pretty much?
For the most part, yeah, yeah. When in Germany, um, when we were living there, my brother was living at home, and he would have friends, his army buddies, come over, and we'd have like parties, and they'd have parties at our house, and it was like, you know, 67, and everybody played a little bit of guitar, and so they'd all, you know, show me stuff, and that's kind of when I first started playing, and never took lessons until, I don't know, I was like 18 or 19. There was a vibes player here in LA named Charlie Shoemake that would the transcribed bebop solos, and I took a couple lessons with him before I was about to go on the road for a couple of months, and this really nasty gig in like Fargo, you know, top 40 gig that I had. It's like, I'm going to make the most of this.
You know, it's funny, man. You're not the guy to say that. Like, it's got it. Well, I know that you're not the guy to say that. So if you're saying it's a really nasty gig, it must have been like so much beyond nasty. And I know you're
The people
like,
were they were sweet. It was a, you know, it's just like, you know, Fargo in February, you know, where
oh my God.
it's icy and dirty and it's gray, and you know.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so I took these solos and learned them, and um, but that, you know, yeah, that's really the rest of it's just been me holed up.
That's
And
really cool, man. That's amazing,
playing.
actually. That's really cool. You know who else grew up in a place like that? I know you know Mike Miller.
Oh, yeah.
He grew up in Montana, or a little, you know, like Fargo was like New York City compared to where he grew up.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, in a little town. Same thing. He just used to play in woodshed, learn, you know, just sit in his room and play, you know, in the middle
Yeah.
of nothing else to do there.
Right.
And then he moved to, I think, Colorado Springs.
Great player.
Yeah, he's a great player. That's so. Thank you, man, for sharing. That was really cool. Sing your little song, "Act Like Nothing's Wrong." Was that cathartic for you a little bit? writing stuff like that?
Definitely. I mean, the whole record for me is kind of a long time coming.
Good.
In a way, I feel like I wish I could have written this in my 20s or 30s, but like I said, it's been a hard road of letting myself, express all that old
Yeah.
stuff. But it's totally been cathartic. I mean, yeah. I was going
Good
to
for
say
you.
something completely without my head.
Well,
But,
you know what?
yeah.
I the biggest issue, I've met loads of people that grew up in similar families, and when there's heavy religion, I don't know why, there's always a certain amount of suppression of feelings that goes along with that. I don't know about today, but I know back in our generation that seems to be the
Yeah.
pretty, whether it's like emotional repression or sexual repression, it's just something is like,
Something pushed down.
yeah, don't, that we got to keep up this image,
Yeah. Well, when your
and,
dad is the minister,
yes,
you're the model, family, and your 8 kids, you better be like The Sound of Music, where
yeah, that's a
leading.
tough thing.
Yeah.
It's unrealistic. That's very unrealistic.
Yeah.
Another song I really enjoyed was "It Doesn't Fit the Picture." It was kind of like an anthem. Really cool acoustic resonator on there, man. All the slide, the acoustic resonator, great. Really, I really enjoyed it. That's the kind of record, man. You could almost do anything and listen to that record. Like you could go on a long drive, you could be at work. I mean, it's a really, really nice record.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man, and I wouldn't say it if I didn't like it. I would just say nothing.
Yeah. Flavor of love for sure.
But you could tell it's really not, and you did everything on there, didn't you?
Yeah.
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 What was that song about? It doesn't fit the picture. Again, it's very themed. It doesn't fit the picture. Sing your little song, act like something wrong. Dude, man, this is the best therapy you ever had.
That's right.
So when you finished this, you were like, "Oh man, this is."
I got this.
It must have been like no, seriously, it must have been like a bit of a weight off your shoulder getting rid of all that crap.
Totally. I was so thrilled to be finally done with it. I mean, plus, it was such a long process for me. There are a couple of songs where I did like 5 or 6 versions. That's
a lot.
Where even rewriting this song, because I was trying to, my voice is kind of limited, so I can write music all day long, but it doesn't mean that my voice is going to work in that kind of music that I created for it. So I would try those. That doesn't feel authentic.
Yeah.
My voice. So I would keep, So yeah, when I was done with it finally, it was, I think my relationship with my wife got immediately better.
I'm sure. Yeah. I know.
With my boys, it's like my head was so in this fog of, how am I going to,
Well, plus it's emotional. It's pretty intense. All the stuff you were expressing in there. So, and nobody else understands what your journey is. And, even you could talk to your wife, because I have shit that I have to work through too. And like, she understands it. But when I come back and talk with her about it, she doesn't, I'm the one who feels the weight off my chest. She can't get that, nor because she's supposed to. So I understand, man, but it's very well done. And so tell me, what does that mean? It doesn't fit the picture. What's the backstory to that?
Well, ironically, because we were just talking about how when I was 15 and I'm picturing something, a reality in my head that then I did make happen, because there was a vibration with it that carried through.
Right.
But cut to being older, I think, and I think at the time I had that there was a book and a sort of movie about The Secret.
Yeah, I haven't.
Basically, there's something to it, but it's kind of it was a very trendy.
Yeah. I was like,
but it's basically talking about how you have to hold an image and a feeling and vibrate with it, and that's what brings whatever you're vibrating, putting out there is what comes back to you, whether it's could be a negative feeling. You bring those people that are in that wavelength or that vibration to you, So, as an older person, as opposed to my 15-year-old self that has been through some life and experienced like more negativity coming in and seeing the quote unquote real world and, things to accept. I found it harder to do what I did when I was 15, to visualize, to sort of forget what my reality is and go, I don't want to vibrate with that. I want to be on this other place. It doesn't fit the picture. It doesn't make sense.
Got it.
And in the verses I'm talking about things that I, want to accomplish or get, or, but yeah, mainly it doesn't fit my picture is what I'm seeing in front of me, what my literal reality is. And I can't get beyond.
It's hard to get beyond. Yeah.
That,
nice work,
sense?
Man. Yeah.
Totally.
No. And then you have this song called One by One. That song seemed to be questioning faith. And I could
that one pretty much talks about the the sort of really kind of fundamentalist thing that I was, heaven and hell, sort of messages that I got, growing up,
right.
When I was young, I was told God prepared for me a place by his side for eternity. All I had to do was say a prayer. And if I don't, better beware, meaning, you're going to hell kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then one by one, the stories fade. What's the chorus? One by one, I douse the flames. But doubt looks like doubt looks like a shark that trolls the shallow waves. So it's like there's always this, well, I'm me now, and I understand all that, and it was all sort of dogma, but it's always there in my little 5-year-old's consciousness. It's like, well, what if they're right? Kind of thing. So that's kind of what that's about.
Dude, very good. It's a great record. Really deep lyrics, man. I really enjoyed listening to the songs. So I would love everybody to listen to it. It's on everywhere that you can buy records. It's called Light Years Away. It's a great record, and I think you'll enjoy it. What would you say? And thank you for sharing all that stuff.
Yeah, of course.
What would you say musically, top 3 experiences you've had?
That Herbie Hancock one would certainly be one. Playing Live Aid with Madonna was
oh my
cool.
God, how many people were in that audience?
I don't know, 100,000 or something, or something like that. But it was
millions of people around the world.
Everybody around the world was watching it. That was pretty cool.
Was Robert Palmer at that? Didn't Robert Palmer play that as well?
I don't remember what Robert Palmer. We played the Thompson Twins, and the Led Zeppelin reunion was right after us with
Jason Bonham
playing, and no, Tony Thompson from the Nile Rodgers crew, Chic,
right,
and Phil Collins were playing drums.
So Herbie, Live Aid.
What else is good? Had a great time playing with Andre Crouch, did a record with him. That was really fun.
He's like what, an R&B guy? I know his name.
One of the early, really fun sessions that I did in the early 80s. He was just a sort of famous, maybe a more local California gospel artist. Wrote some great tunes. Really soulful dude. As weird as it was, the Rickie Lee Jones tour was really a fun.
That was your test to get into heaven.
Yeah.
That was your test to get in. Even if you pass that, you're in.
Yeah. Right.
You're good now, man. You got a spot. Any low points, James? Low points in life that you had to deal with, and how'd you get through them? Whatever you're comfortable sharing.
It was hard. Like the years after I quit that band, Brush Arbor, it was right. I was just, I was like 20, and I was basically severing my, the money.
Yeah.
I wanted to, start from, get my name going in LA, and my parents had just moved out of the house that we grew up in Van Nuys, and my girlfriend broke up with me and went to school back, east.
Oh man.
And it was like all these things at once, and I, so yeah, it was a hard period, and I painted houses with my brother for like a year or two, and it was just a gradual sort of climb, getting acclimated to the scene. So those were tricky, because that's hard anyway. In your early 20s, get sort of establishing what you're doing and where you're headed. And
how did you get into the session world?
Just like I did, I just kept playing with people, just kept saying yes to gigs and meeting new people, and that had connections here, and they remembered me and referred me, and played live a lot, and it just was a gradual avalanche, if there's such a thing.
No, and this business is really good like that. That's been that's I've grown this show. It's just been like, it's a very supportive business. Right. If you do what you say you're going to do, if you're not looking to screw anybody,
right?
People appreciate like a good work ethic and a good, I guess, not just, for lack of better words, moral compass,
right?
And
nice to be around, and you got a good thing, a good feeling with people.
Yeah,
people want to be around, especially if you're on the road.
Oh my God, yeah.
Want to be around somebody that you can tolerate a little bit.
Well, yeah, everybody says, the three things, the money, the hang, and the music. You got to have at least one of those that's really good. Even if it's only one, it's got to be really good. You can have just one, but it's got to be one of those three. If you don't have any, you're kind of screwed. You're not going to take the gig, or you're going to be taking it knowing you'll be miserable.
Right. Yeah.
Any advice, if you had to go back and give advice to young James, assuming you would have listened, anything that you might have told yourself that would make your life easier in any aspect, and not to be?
I certainly have regrets. I certainly wish there were things that I could have known. What's that Rod Stewart song? If I knew.
Youth is wasted on the young, something like that.
Back then, whatever it is. But I don't know. It's like it all sort of, you learn it when you learn it. I mean, you can't force any of that. I mean, I don't know what I would have said to my earlier self. I'm maybe just, I don't know. You're gonna figure it out. Give it. There are no definitive answers. Except that. About anything.
There are.
I think that I looked for. I looked for answers for a long time, and I think that you do have to at some point go, especially with the God kind of stuff. There are no clearly we're not meant to know much, really.
Well, especially coming out of that dogmatic. Yeah, then I could see you kind of think, well, isn't everything laid out like that? Yeah, that would be yeah, I could see that being interesting and like surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about gear for a few minutes. Tell me what's your go-to guitar right now? Has that changed over the years, and like what rounds out your top three?
Well, this just happened to have it right here. This exotic I've been playing a lot. It's a Strat, one of their I don't know if you know those guys. They're kind of more famous for their pedals, but well, Toshi plays now.
Yeah.
But I play that one a lot. I have one of their Tellys that I love. I got a Les Paul. I don't really have any much vintage gear. I've got this 62.
Oh, let me see that.
3 out of tune 3. It was originally a 345. For some reason, I was young and dumb, and I had the Veritone taken out because I wanted to be more like Larry Carlton.
Oh, see, I wanted to be more like Freddie King. Yeah, I love that guy.
But it's a sweet, yeah.
Yeah, that's a beautiful guitar.
An old Gretsch that I love. It's a 72 Rock Jet that I play sometimes. What else do I have? I love my also not it's like a newer one, but it's Jazzmaster.
Oh yeah,
Jazz. It's got a cool thing.
Those are really kind of hard guitars. There's a lot of. I look at that, man. It's like stepping into a cockpit. There's buttons and switches all over that guitar.
It's sort of like, yeah.
Man, I had Nels Klein on my show. That guy, he's such a great play. He's like such a wizard with all that stuff, you know. And he just loves his jazz. I asked him one question, man. He was so thorough in his he's knows that instrument so well. It's just incredible.
Yeah, I'm a very I can be a gearhead, but I don't know the minutia of, you know, I'm geeky, but only to a certain point. I don't really
on a need to know basis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a pedal junkie. I'm a overdrive pedal junkie.
What are some overdrive pedals you like?
Well, that's the other thing. I don't memorize their names, but I happen to have my pedal boards right here. But right now, I have a Greer Amps Southland harmonic overdrive. It sounds great. Love it. I've got a Friedman BEOD, which I really like. And this is what's in my pedal board right now. MXR 78 distortion, which is really cool. It sounds kind of voxy. I've got the RC Booster, which is great. That's an exotic pedal. Yeah, those are my faves right now.
Very cool, man.
Yeah, I like with a clean amp and you use the pedals for
distortion. Do you use any fuzz or more? Is it more distortion?
Sometimes, but mostly distortion. Yeah. If the occasion calls for it.
What did you play early in your career? Was it also Strats as your number one?
Yeah, always a Strat. Different versions of Strats. Yeah.
You ever have a guitar that you sold and you regret letting it go?
Yeah, I had a old Barney Kessel.
Oh my God!
Big old feedback machine. That was pretty sweet. Yeah, a friend of mine who was moving to Japan. I think he ended up selling it over there for probably a lot of money, but yeah, that goes way back. It's probably 40 years ago I sold it to him. But yeah, wow. I would love to have that one for sure. But I've never owned a lot of guitars, really.
Yeah, you're pretty utilitarian there. That's like a very reasonable number in there. Even if you have 10, that's, as a guy who's had a 40-year something career in music, man, that's extremely, practical, very utilitarian. Best guitar and best amp you've ever played or owned, either way.
I think my favorite amp, well, maybe my Fender Blackface Princeton from mid '60s, which I've had since I don't know, 75. I've used like crazy. I still use it all the time.
On your sessions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although lately I have it divided by 13. Do you know that company?
Yeah, I do. That's what's his name?
You're
Company.
dropping out a little bit.
It'll come back because it's okay. It's cool on here. That's what's his I can't think of the guy who owns that company.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Fred Taccone.
Okay, yeah, I know that company. Yes.
I forget how you say his last name. Yeah, they're a Southern California company.
Yes.
But I have it's just an 11-watt amp. It's a little combo. It sounds great. It just records. It's just got that perfect sort of, I don't know. I hear it as like almost like a combination of like a great Fender amp and a Marshall-y Voxy, somewhere in the middle of all that. It just sort of does that. It just sounds beautiful.
There's so many nice, 10 to 20 watt amps nowadays that are just so sweet like that,
So many great boutique amp makers out there.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
And how about guitar? What's the best guitar you ever played?
I'm loving the way this telly that the exotic people made that I got a couple of years ago from them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's bitching.
Hey,
yeah,
man,
I don't know. That might be my favorite actually of what I've owned. Yeah.
Make sure you play this interview for them. Make sure you send them this interview, man. They'll send you a couple of more guitars. If all of their players were like this enthusiastic, they'd have it made, man. And I know you're being genuine, so that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's guitars that I've played that are, that I haven't owned that I think that I've loved, but I've for whatever reason never, I don't know, let myself pay that much money for an instrument.
Dude, you come from 8 kids. I totally get it. It's not an easy thing to do to start saying, "No, let me buy a $20,000 guitar." I totally get that, man. Believe me. Favorite players you've enjoyed playing with? Guitar, bass, anything.
Wow. There's so many. I mean, I feel so fortunate to have played with all the classic, LA great players, I should have thought about that to actually give you a list because, but what came to mind was actually when you asked that was playing with, we called ourselves the Biscara Brothers. It was Reggie Hamilton and Kurt Biscara and Leon Biscara and it's been a while since we played, but we used to basically we just get together and have a very loose format, and we just kind of get up and really more than anything just jam and sort of be in the moment and play together. And we really had some, I wish we could sort of get together and still do it these days, but it's been about. Well, a couple of years ago, we got together and played a gig, but.
That's nice, man. Yeah, Reggie's a cool guy. He's such a nice guy, man.
Yeah. Wonderful player.
Very genuine guy.
Yeah.
Tell me your top 3 Desert Island discs.
Oh, wow.
Just for now, knee-jerk reaction.
I don't know. I guess maybe Joni Mitchell. Either Miles Viles or Blue. Maybe Peter Gabriel. So.
Yeah, what a record that is, man.
Wow. What else have I worn out? Plenty. Probably another Joni record. I was,
Wow. What about her music is so captivating for you?
I think that coming from where I came from, where you don't wear your feelings on your sleeve,
Okay.
and she did in her music and was very vulnerable.
Yeah.
It was a combination of that, and she also was using a lot of players that I loved at the time. So it was like it was a double win. It was like,
Yeah.
she was an artist that I loved and resonated with, and she had a lot of my favorite players that she was working with.
Yeah. Robin Ford played on her stuff.
Yeah,
I had
yeah, all the LA Express guys, and then Jocko and Wayne Shorter, from Weather Report, all those guys, and yeah, always great musicians. And just I loved her path, that she just sort of went wherever she felt like going. Like if she wasn't holding on to like, I'm going to keep doing Blue, or try to keep making that record for the record company. And she had a lot of integrity. So I love that about her.
There's been some artists that have, like, people that come to mind, like Bowie, Neil Young.
Yeah.
The thing is, you got to have a lot of money, and you have to have a track record of success to be willing. It's like a catch-22. It's like, if you got this cachet of success behind you, okay, you have the means and to do that. But at the same time, what makes it tough is you have this cachet of success behind you, and then people have expectations. So the thing that, from my perspective, that's commendable about that is not giving a shit. Just saying, hey, I'm going to do this because I want to be true to the music, and that's what I'm feeling.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But it would be hard to do that if you weren't successful. It's kind of a weird thing, Well,
it's funny. I feel like in a way that I waited for a long time to do my record, to do Light Years Away, because now we're at a time where the artist is the internet and the no record company, and
yes,
I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want, because nobody's saying, I don't think you should write about that topic, or that's not very commercial, or any of that stuff. Is like, this is exactly what I want to, for better, for worse, this is blah, this is who I am. And I mean, I think that's that it was the time to do it for me, to
yeah, man, it's like childbirth for you,
being down my throat.
Yeah, good for you.
It's like what?
Childbirth, having that record, man. I can see it. Yeah, it's good.
But harder for those artists that like Joni. Everybody wanted to hear Blue again. It was like, I did that already. I'm going to do this now, and that's tough. To have your audience sort of turn on you and not appreciate where you're going, and you're changing, and I said that, now I have this to say, and listen to Blue if that's what again.
Yeah. Then go right. I told it's still there. Right.
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah. Tough question, man. Especially for a shy guy like you. What do you like most about yourself?
Wow. What do I like most about myself? I guess my willingness to, as I'm saying this, I'm wondering if my wife would agree with this. My willingness to change.
That's always the real test.
To look at myself and make adjustments, and to be self evaluating, and willing to look at the things that aren't so pretty.
So if I translate this into Bronx, it'd be the willingness to own your own shit, right?
Into Bronx, yeah.
That's great, man.
That works.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great quality. When someone does that, it's like it's easy to have a relationship with someone like that, because there's if you're responsible for the things that you do and say, and owning it, and owning your mistakes, and that's everything, just focus on that, and not worried about what your partner's doing or not doing. That's where you get in trouble. You take care of your own shit, and everything sort of Stay in your own lane. Yeah, man.
Oh
But
yeah, stay in your own lane. Yeah.
how long have you been with your wife?
We met 20 years ago this coming May.
Oh man, congratulations.
So
Very cool, man. That's nice.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, when I started doing that more, my wife noticed that change and she was like really happy, you know. And I was too, you know, because
Yeah, I mean, I
I
grew up
need
looking.
I should own my shit, especially with her,
Yeah.
you
No,
know.
I grew up focusing on what if I could only change what, what you're saying or doing, or then my life would be better. And,
Yeah.
it's nowheresville.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, you can't do that. It's like, right. You can only fix yourself, man. That's it.
Yeah, the only power we have is over how we deal with how I, deal
Yeah,
with what you say to me or,
totally.
yeah.
Uh, happiest moment or happiest time in your life?
I, I think living out on my own and getting my own place away from my family, my parents, I think that that might have been the happiest, because I'm on my own. I'm in my own life. I have some control.
Yeah, you didn't have that dogmatic thing hanging over you every day either, man. That probably was
Yeah,
nice. Yeah,
I
good
think
for you.
that was a very joyous time for me and scary, but yeah, happy.
So this is going to be interesting. What's the most important thing your dad taught you? Could be good. Doesn't have to be good.
Um, I think maybe faith at the end of the day, really. I mean, it was very specific kind of faith and in the sort of very dogmatic housing,
Right.
but still it was a belief in something outside of himself, and he definitely modeled that, and he, I think that my parents praying together was a great model. I think that it's translated to, I've started meditating,
Yeah.
in my life. I think that's kind of been my version of it. And sometimes my wife and I do it together, and
Oh, that's
it is reminiscent of,
yeah.
my praying together, because I think that there is a lot of power in prayer, however you frame it,
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
it's a something that you're putting out there, a positive. It's hard, it feels like it gets very like new agey sounding very quickly, as you're trying to
No, man.
but
But you're in California, so it's all right. There's an allowance for that. There's a no, but you know what?
there is no Bronx speak for that.
No, you know what? But you know what? I never thought that must be pretty cool meditating with your wife. Yeah,
It
I could
is.
see that being like a very sort of like connective.
Yeah. And I see how my parents, they were not in touch with themselves. There was no psychology. There was no looking at who they were, and like all that stuff happened after their
Yeah,
generation.
yeah,
All the self-help stuff that we, grew up
sure.
with was not available to them. And I see that it was their faith that kept them together for 55 years or whatever it was.
Yeah,
And that's a really cool thing to have seen.
yeah. Is your
I think
wife?
being older, I'm able to see it in a different way. I think that, when I was younger, I was like, oh, this is really so dogmatic, and so, but as I'm older and look back on it, there's a lot to glean from it that I think is
Yes,
really
yeah.
fun.
Even if you didn't agree with what they were praying about or why,
Right.
the act itself
Yeah.
has a lot of meaning. Yeah, yeah. Especially with two people that love each other. Is your wife mellow like you, or is she more of a type A?
She's more type. She's more. We're definitely, yeah. We're very yin and yang.
Okay. Yeah. See, my
Yeah.
wife and I are both type A's. I couldn't
Oh,
imagine meditating. I mean, I'm mellow now, but I'm still like, sort of type, like I still have I'm much better like quieting my brain down. I
Yeah.
couldn't. That's really funny. I'm going to ask her about that because if we met it, I don't know if we'd make it like a minute.
That's
We both be looking at the other one. What are you doing? You know, but I could see that being a very connective thing, man. Really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Thank you for telling me that, man. I'm going to write. I got to talk to my wife.
I love it. That's funny.
Yeah. Well, because we're both like, I could, you know,
Yeah.
She's mellowed too, but you know, as you get older, you can't help it.
Yeah.
Meditating together. Sorry, that's important. I want to make sure I get that down. I want to talk to her about it.
Yeah, keep me posted about that.
I will. We'll talk. I'll talk to her about it tonight when we have our drink. Yeah, man, that sounds great.
That's your kind of meditation. Yeah.
Oh man, how about your mom? What's that?
The Brahma meditation.
Yeah, right. What's the most important thing your mom taught you?
My mom definitely gave me love for music. She loved music, and she had a career actually in opera singing before she met my dad. And back in the day, you know,
that must have been tough for a woman.
You didn't have a family, you gave that stuff up as a woman.
Yeah,
and she did, and you know, that's tough.
Yeah.
And I think in a way I was the one to sort of carry the musical torch in the world. I mean, not that I wasn't the only musical person in the family, but one of my other brothers and myself are the only ones that went professional with music.
Oh, you have. I was going to ask you. So you have one of your brothers is also professional.
My brother Walt is a studio singer. Has done really well.
Oh, that's so cool.
Great. Yeah, he's done a lot of film and TV and records. Yeah, has done really. He's great.
That's really cool.
So she played the piano and would sing hymns, you know, and sing with us at the piano but she translated the passion for music to us.
That's nice, man.
Which I thank her for. Yeah. She definitely spilled it over on us, which is a good thing.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
Do you have any hobbies outside of music, James?
I guess lately it's the upkeep of our house. So we have this old house and which was kind of a fixer-upper when we bought it 5 years ago. So I've been like, you know, chipping away at you know,
your
home improvement
to-do list.
Kind of stuff. I don't know if that counts as a hobby, but you know, I love to play tennis, but I haven't gotten out that much to play lately. But yeah, I really don't is the short answer.
Okay. You don't live near the fires or anything, do you?
We had some fires here. Yeah. And like, even like, I don't know, 1,000 yards from our house, there was a fire.
Holy.
Yeah. It was kind of, we evacuated once and then we sort of voluntarily evacuated another time. But the big fire was across the valley from us. I think they called it the Tick Fire. But, you know, still, you know, not far away from us. So it was crazy.
That's scary, especially when you have kids and there's no frame of reference for that too. Wow.
No, it's frightening.
Tell me the toughest decision you've had to make or most difficult thing you've had to do.
I think, wow. It was certainly hard to want to marry, you know, and you know, I think coming from the family that I did, I for years I had fears that I was just going to recreate what I grew up with, and I think you do when you're younger, you know, because you're just so like you're like oblivious to everything. You sort of draw that to you, and I didn't get married till I was 43.
Okay.
So, but even then, it was like, okay, here we go. You know, it's a scary decision for me.
So you didn't have like a starter wife?
No.
This is it. Yeah. See, I had a starter wife. I was like 22, and I did that, and I was like, this is not good. Yeah, it's exactly what happens because you're too young. You don't know any. You're like you're totally on autopilot. Yeah,
Right.
you're totally, and you don't know anybody. You don't have the coping skills to think out of that. You know,
Right.
And it's a really weird thing.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Obviously, you made a good decision, man. 20 years later, and you're meditating together. Man, that's like a new level of like togetherness. Seriously, that is really impressive. I like that, man. I'm gonna figure out how to do that.
Not consistently. I don't mean to paint a picture.
So what? If you do it once every 6 months, who cares, man? It's just another way to connect on an intimate level, man. That's really cool. You know, that's what it's about, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And last question: what's been the biggest change in your personality, James, over the last 10 years? And how much of that change has been intentional and how much is just a natural part of aging?
What was the first part of the question?
Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years and how much of this change has been intentional or deliberate and how much is just a natural part of aging?
I think that there's a little bit of all that. I mean, I certainly, being married and having a partner with a mirror, to you, to show you, help you see who you are, is a scary yet invaluable tool to help you change, as hard as it is to have somebody go, you do that. why do you do that? I go, oh, okay. I didn't really notice that that's what I do, but okay. Has been kind of profound. I mean, and my wife is very vocal about that, and which has been really hard and great. I think that, in fact, I think the first 10 years of our marriage, I couldn't hear a lot of that in relationship to her. And it's interesting that you say the last 10 years, because I think that I've gradually, but I think more in like the last couple of years, I've been able to really look at myself in new ways. And
she beat you into submission, or you just
beat me into submission?
No, it's cool. It's great to have somebody that like is supportive like that and pushes you to grow,
it's
man.
It's a really humbling process, living with somebody. It does. It is a mirror for you, and there's a lot of times you don't want to see. It's easy to lie to yourself if you're living on your own.
Yeah.
And do what you want and what you feel, and nobody's there to say.
That's right. And you did that till you're 43.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had a long time of being able to tell myself whatever stories I wanted to tell myself.
Yeah. So. Well, kudos to you, man. Whatever you did has worked. So.
Well, it's an ongoing lifelong life full of lessons for sure.
Well, listen, first of all, I want to thank you very much for everything. You're a very thoughtful guy, man. I'm really appreciative, and thanks for being so open. And I really want to encourage everybody to listen to your new record. It's called Light Years Away by James Harrah, Harrah. It streams and available everywhere. If you want to buy it off James directly, go to jamesharrah.com. Again, it's Harrah. And he will sign the record. Tell him that you heard it. You heard him on Everyone Loves Guitar. And that's about it. Any final words of wisdom or anything I missed?
No, you were great. Great questions. I appreciate it. Really.
Thank you, man. No, it's really easy to talk to you.
I handled them very well, but
no, you handled them great. It's tough for these are not easy questions, period. But for someone that is introspective and quiet, it's really tough. So I genuinely, really appreciate when a guy like you makes such an effort and answered like really great, thoughtful answers, man. And you put a lot of effort into it. So I genuinely appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. It's really kind of you, and I wish you nothing but the best. Are you going to be at NAMM?
That's a good question. When is NAMM? I try to miss it. Are you coming out for it?
I am going to be there like Wednesday and Thursday.
Ah, all right. I might talk to the exotic guys actually and see if
if you wind up being there, man, you got my number. Text me. Let me know. We'll connect.
That
would be good. All right. Okay. Hang on. Let me wrap this up. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels with your friends. I'd love you to all listen to James Harrah's new record. Again, it's called Light Years Away. If you don't have a lot of time, let me at least tell you the songs I really enjoyed on there. The whole record's great. Make Everything Okay was beautiful. It Doesn't Fit the Picture was beautiful, and so is One by One. So there's a lot of heavy lyrics in there. He's a great player, and man, he's got a really angelic voice. So I would encourage anybody to check that out who likes good music. And anything else that you got going on that I could encourage people to support?
Not that comes to mind right now. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, man. Anytime.
Yeah.
And the next record, hey, are you going to do another record?
I'm sure I will. I'd love to do one, actually get a bunch of people in a room and like do an instrumental record or something. It's kind of what's sort of going around in my head these days.
That's all. Well, dude, if you do another record, hit me up, come back on the show. We'll do a little show to promote it, man. I'd love to get more people listening to your music. All right.
That'd be great. Thank you.
My pleasure, man. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Please listen to James Harrah's record, Light Years Away. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice. So choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out. James, thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, correct.